p.m. I don't know what's happening, what we're doing, but here we are, co-working on a Saturday night. So, co-working and drinking wine. I need something. And so yeah, basically, while we're going live, why not? It's always a good time to go live. But today I was working on my podcast, and it was like just talking about niching and finding your niche and walking in alignment with what you feel called to do and things like that. And so I messaged Ioni and I was like, hey, what do you think about this? And then so we started talking about zone of genius and what that means. And I've always heard the term, but I never really, I always kind of knew what it was, but I never read the book or anything like that. But you said, like, started talking more about what it is, and I thought it was very interesting. And so we decided spontaneously we're just gonna come on and talk about that. And here we are. So this is not planned, nothing. So we're just gonna go with it. So yeah, I guess how should we start this? What do you like like
You- I
what's a
think it's worth mentioning that Saturday evening we started this chat as a co-working,
yeah.
and here we are. We just said, why don't we turn this into just a live conversation? Because it's just so interesting, and we thought, why not share it with other people who might want to talk about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can give context on the zones of genius, or what is the problem, like what is not the problem, but like what is the source of wanting to know about the zones of genius.
Yeah.
And in entrepreneurship, I think a lot of either starting entrepreneurs, or when you have built a business and you feel like the thing you've built is you're not connecting to or aligning with as much, and you are at a place where you question whether or not you should pivot, where you question whether or not you should completely call it quits, this is not for me, and maybe this is a great time to investigate, what do I feel called to do? And are my skills and interests aligning with the work that I do? And the zones of genius is essentially just a framework to help us do that and to help us get those answers. And it's similar to, a lot of people know the ikigai, the Japanese method, which is, the different circles. I'm sure like people have seen the diagram with, it's
Yeah.
the work that you do, the work that people needs from you, what the world will pay you for. And there's like multiple circles. And then there's an arrow with the circle. This is where you should be. If all those essentially areas align, and the golden spot is the middle. And yeah, this is just another framework
Yeah,
that
'cause
helps.
yeah, because I know when I started, and I mentioned this in our private conversation, but when I first started my business, I just thought, oh, I can do this and I can do that, so why don't I just add it, like, just like a big melting pot of all kinds of stuff, like let me just add it into my business, and I can also offer these kinds of services to people because, like, I'm really good at them, or like just skills that I learned from corporate. And when I did that, it was like, oh, I actually hate doing all of this. And I realized, wait, if I'm gonna build something, why don't I build something that I love, so that I don't want to burn it to the ground every 5 days, because it's like just so I love that you said that, like, because it's like it is like that. It just make you, when you're not aligned, like when the going gets tough, you're not gonna stick
we
around.
we both did it together. Like, nah, it's not gonna work.
Exactly. Exactly. So, like, I guess what does that look like? Like, what does it look like to, I suppose, know what your zona G, because I think I've been thinking about it in the wrong
Mm.
way, because I always thought it's like really what you're good at. That's what your zone of genius is. That's what I always thought.
Mm.
So Yeah, but it's not necessarily that. I mean, it could help with your zone of genius, but it's not necessarily that. So how do you
Yeah.
how do you explain what it is in the first place?
I love the visual, and maybe we can share a screen if it's possible.
Mhm.
Um, I love the visual because it shows the different buckets that we can belong in when it comes to figuring out what we're our calling type of thing. And the concept of the zone of genius, it's a concept that a lot of authors and creators they use interchangeably, but where I have learned it and the whole framework that we've been talking about is, just to give the author credit, her their name is Gay Hendricks and the book is The Big Leap. And I can share my screen if you want.
Yeah,
We talked about the visual before. Let me. I
yeah,
don't know if that. Can I share? Oh, I can
yeah,
share.
yeah.
Okay, here.
This is cool.
Okay, so this is essentially the framework. I love this because
Oh,
it
good.
kind of simplifies things. So there's an axis of time, best use of our time, and then best use of our talent. And before we go into each bucket, I just want to give maybe first like an anchor. This nice framework is to be utilized when you're looking, when you are out of alignment with what you really want to do versus what you're really good at. And that could
Mm,
look like the result of that quest can look like what business to start or how to progress in my life professionally. So I think just like to give it a bit of a context because it doesn't apply in every area in our life. But I think in terms of like career and business, this is a great framework to use as a guide.
mm,
So yeah, one axis is the best use of time. The other axis is the best use of talent. And initially what we see is that people when they start their careers or people when we start, let's say, our business, we actually, before we even do this, let's just explain the zones, and they're pretty explanatory here. We have the zone of incompetence. These are the things that you pretty much, you do things but others can do better than you. Let's name a few things as it relate to you and I, for example, just to help other people who are watching. Example, math.
mm. And
Math. I'll say
mm,
math is not my
I'm
thing.
pretty good at everything, so
You're pretty good at everything.
I mean, I don't think I have anything in that zone, but yeah, I would say I would say humility.
Yeah, humility. That's one. I would say, yeah, zone of incompetence. It's tough.
I mean, there's so to be honest, there's so many things, but yeah, like yeah, like financial literacy and like those types of things for sure. Like
So, two
IT
questions.
relation, anything IT related.
Anything IT related. So, two questions to identify our zone of incompetence, because sometimes it could be a blind spot. It could be, what do you consistently get negative feedback about? And we might be blind to it. For example, when
Mm,
people complain about us about a specific thing, oh, you didn't realize that this is your zone of incompetence, but that could be an area. Another one could be, what work do you do that just about everyone else on average can do better?
mm,
These are the two. For me, I would say, let's say, uh, being having like a, to be more specific, uh, anything that has to do with maybe like, I think math and physics
mm,
below average there, let's say. In
yeah,
general, not that I cannot do calculations, but
yeah,
algebra, physics, like, yeah.
yeah.
Next, this next zone is the zone of competence. And when people start a business, this, I love this topic so much because this is like, when people come to me, they're either in their zone of competence or their zone of excellence. And a lot of people confuse things that I'm good at, which is the example you gave. You were really good at in your role in corporate, and your zone of competence is essentially things that you do just as well as others. And there's two guiding questions for to identify your zone of competence, and those are like, what work do you do well that doesn't feel satisfying? You do it well, but it doesn't feel satisfying. And the other one is, what work do you do well? You do just as well as others.
Mm,
That's a nice anchor.
okay, that's cool. Yeah.
And that is often in business, we see that, oh, like, I was an accountant, maybe I can start an accounting consulting firm, but I don't really love it, but that's my skill set. That's it.
I have a question actually, because
I'm not that great either, let's say. I was a Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
yeah, go on.
um, because I was talking to my husband earlier, and he is a musician, and he was saying, "Oh, my zone of genius is music," and I kind of said, "No, I don't think it is. I think that's your zone of excellence." Because I see his zone of genius is like the things that like he doesn't even think twice about, that is a struggle for other people, that is like very unique, that like I don't really see it, like it really just naturally happening for other people. And
Such as,
so it's making me think, what's that?
such as,
Um because like we were talking about, well, we were just talking about customer service, for example, and how there was like certain places that we go to, like he's a musician, he plays a lot of places, and so we're just saying that he was like saying there are certain places where the customer service isn't good, where people aren't just conscientious about like what they are saying and how they're treating people, like they're just like, the service is just really bad. And he was saying like, you should be doing this and doing that and doing that. And I was just saying to him, like, like, I don't know how to explain it. This is what I said, but I don't really know how to explain it.
mm,
On a G,
I think
but
I understand.
he's got it, and you can't teach that. You know what I mean? Like, people just, they don't have to know what he does. They don't have to know anything about him. They just want to be around him, and they want to listen to what he has to say. And it's just his presence, and he has a way of connecting with people. He can talk to anybody, like, but like not that, not in the way that like I can talk to anybody too, but it's like a different, it's a different just thing that he has. And I was thinking when you were talking before, I'm like, is it possible for your zone of excellence and your zone of genius to like be married together? Like the thing that makes you excellent is combined with your genius. Like, does that make sense? Or is his music his zone of genius?
I think, no, they cannot be the same, but I think what you're referring to is the aware and unaware zone of genius, because you could be aware of your zone of genius and there could be areas that you are unaware. So if you are excellent, it's not like it's either your zone of genius or your zone of excellence. They couldn't be both. That's why, like, it cannot be your zone of competence and your excellence. It's either or.
Right.
But there, I think what you're referring to is that he's unaware. And I think you might like another visual. This is very interesting because it's called the Johari window. So the Johari window essentially is exactly what you're talking. It's about, which is the levels of awareness that we have
Mm.
about ourselves. And the Johari window essentially is, you have the known self, which is what you know about yourself. What, let's say in this case, our case study, your husband knows that he is good with music, but also the zone of genius doesn't mean you're not constantly sharpening it and working on it, by the way. It doesn't mean that it's innate and you don't have to constantly work on it. Let's say Michael Jackson, his zone of genius was sports and basketball, but he still had to go to work. He still had to practice like 10
Michael
times
Jordan.
more
Yeah.
as anybody else. But that was like his innate, he was uniquely built to be a basketball player and to be a legend. Um, so yeah, it doesn't mean there's no struggle, it doesn't mean there is no work. But yeah, back to the Johari window, essentially is like the self has four aspects. It is the known self, what I know. and what others know. The unknown self, what I don't know and what others don't know. The unknown, the blind self, which is what I don't know but others know, which is
Yeah.
could be the zone of genius, but it's still a blind spot to me. And
Mm,
then there is the open area, which is what I know and what you know. So there's like the Johari window, and I can show you that in a nice like little visual, which makes the zone identifying the zone of genius so much more harder because, like you said, you identify some really strong strengths to him that are he's uniquely, competently made to deliver, but he's not aware of them. And those could be the zone of his zones of genius, in addition to his aware zones of genius.
okay, wow. That
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's so true. It's like we can't, like you said, we can't see our own blind spots. I just want to see if there's, because I saw that there was maybe a couple people watching.
Oh,
I just wanted to see if there was anything in the chat.
yeah.
Um, um, yeah, so it's like it's really interesting because there are like the blind spots that we have, and I think that that's why sometimes we struggle, is because we it's like there's a quote actually. It's by Charles Spurgeon, and it's about discernment actually. And he says discernment
Mhm.
is the difference between is not the difference between right and wrong. It's the difference between right and almost right. And I
Ooh.
feel like, and I always loved that. And I feel like this is the point that we get to sometimes. It's like that the difference between zone of excellence and genius. It's like it's right, but it's almost right. It's not quite right, and we often feel it, I think, and that's why we feel misaligned, because it's like it's almost there, but there's something that I can't put my finger on, that I'm not quite seeing or feeling or
Mm,
getting. And I
mm,
think this is like what you're about to show right now in terms of awareness, like the things that we're just maybe missing because we're not aware of them, we're not conscious of them.
mm. I really love that quote, by the way. I
Mm,
love that quote.
mm,
Yeah. And essentially, this is another framework. I love frameworks that helps us expand our awareness. So the Johari window model is the, like I mentioned, the four different areas. The area that is open to self, here the X is known by self and known by others. It's known by self, is known by others. These are, for example, you're a woman, you're a business owner, I know it, you know it. Unknown by self. This could be the blind spots that, oh, I know that Melissa is a really good, she is let's say something that you might not know. Something that you might not see, but I see. Let's say she is very um she's very friendly. I don't know. That's what is it that you understand it. So
yeah.
unknown by you, but known by me.
Yeah.
It could be, usually this is for negative things. Let's say we know that she is so obnoxious. He is so shy, but they think, no, I'm good. I'm popular. Like I'm just communicative.
Mm,
Then this area is the hidden area, which is, you know, but others don't. This is the
mm.
skeletons in the closet. These are the things like you. This is usually what we try to show on social media. And then the unknown area, which
Wait a
is usually
second. Hold up. Wait a minute. Did you
mhm,
say number three is the things we try to show on social media? Unknown by
oftentimes known by self, but unknown by others. So here is like we're trying to show like who we are, or we're trying to
ah
pretend we are someone because others don't know. And we try to make
okay.
it known. We're trying to make it known. So that hidden area, we're trying to make it known. And
Cool.
as you can see, there's arrows because you can go from this area to that area with, and then it shows you the way you do this. So to go from the blind spot into, for example, um, to go for like it tells you for you to go from the blind spots, what you don't know about yourself but others know, you get it through feedback. You
Mm,
solicit feedback to get into to make what you know but others don't know, to make it known, you do self disclosure and exposure.
mm.
It kind of shows you like how to move through the different buckets. And the bucket that it's like you don't know, I don't know, I don't have any self-awareness, you don't know it either about me. And you do that by like self-discovery, and you also observe others, and then you eventually figure it out. So that's kind of like the four buckets of awareness. I find this like very fascinating, and it's a nice model to see, okay, like how can I increase my awareness? And there's two ways: solicit feedback, observe, and then self expose. So through these conversations, for example, we expose ourselves, we expose our thoughts, and we learn things about ourselves through that exposure. This is one way, and the other one is the intentional exposure. I'm going to say who I think I am, and then through data and observation I figure out that maybe that's true, maybe that's not true.
Mm,
Yeah,
wow.
maybe that's too much.
No, no, it's not too much.
I'm going to
It's like
stop.
no,
The
no, no,
unknown,
it's
the
no,
blind area is that I've talked too much, right?
no, it's just like there it just goes to show like sometimes the just the more that I go on this journey of life, this journey of business, it just and that's what I love about this this journey in my business, how my business is growing and how our businesses are growing and how I'm seeing others grow and stuff. It's like there's so much to just learn about ourselves that is just exposed or like shown through growing a business, through building a business and growing a brand and things like that. It's like there's so many things that we hide from even ourselves. It's like the third zone there where it's like we're trying to show certain things, but there's also certain things that we don't want to admit about ourselves or that through our business we're seeing and we're like, "Oh, I'm actually like that." Or like you said, when you're getting feedback, it's like, "Oh, wow, you're just seeing like more and more of yourself." And it's
Mm-hmm.
so it is a like it is a lot. It is a lot, but like in a good way because it's I feel like we're always being led towards who we were created to be, who God sees us as. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like when we have this openness to want to see all parts of ourselves, it like that's what's going to lead you to being that person. And it's not about
Mm-hmm.
being perfect, it's not about being like this or like that, but it's like who did God create me to be? And if I'm open, I can see those different ways and not feel shame, not feel like any kind of um guilt or anything around that. It's just like, oh, I didn't know, but now that it's being brought to light, I can see it and I don't have to feel guilty about it or feel shameful, but it's like, oh, I can do something about it now because now I
Mm-hmm.
know. Whereas when it's hidden, when we're hiding it even from ourselves, it's like, well, it just stays there and we wonder why we're blocked all the time. So it's like really interesting how how different things can flow from like different in different ways if we're
Mm-hmm.
open to it. I feel like we have to be
That's
open
key.
to it as well.
Yeah, that's key. It's key. Exactly what you said is essentially how you expand your awareness. To expand your awareness from your known self, what is known to you, what is known to others, you have to have an open mind and an open heart, which is what you
Mm,
said. And it's the more people who like to be visual is see the more you are open, your level of awareness, see that red dotted area has been expanded because you have asked for feedback, you have been open to feedback. The
as
more you have self-disclosed, the more you have been vulnerable, the more you have exposed your thoughts either out externally or to yourself, the more you gain, your awareness expands.
mm,
And then obviously like ultimately we reach that, but there's always going to be a hidden area, like the unknown to us and unknown to others,
mm.
because we're constantly ever evolving. So having an open mind, having an open heart is the key to expanding our self-awareness. That's it. That's pretty much, you summarize the model. I'll go
Mm.
back into the zones of genius because I think that flows perfect. Let me share my screen. Where is it?
I didn't know we were gonna get so deep, actually.
Me neither. Me neither.
I
But
feel
I
like
love these. I love these chats. Like I've
uh,
been. You already know. This is my
I
jam.
feel like people are actually getting a sneak peek about to things we actually just really talk to to each other about.
Yeah.
It's
I
like a
mean,
normal Saturday night for us.
yeah. Yeah. So going back to the zones of genius, we talked about the zone of competence, and we touched a bit on the zone of genius, which is, I just wanted to clarify that your zone of genius can be the aware zone of genius and the unaware,
Okay.
reference to the Johari window.
Yeah.
So then, usually, in order to make the best use, because this model is what making the best use of time versus the against your talent. That is the whole point of this framework. Best
Mm,
use of time. It could be your life, or it could be, I don't know, the next few years versus the talents and interests that you have. So people usually jump through, and that's why you have the arrows from the zone of incompetence, what you're not good at. You're like, okay, well, that's not really the place where I want to make the best use of of my time, which
mm,
is people, let's say, try to start a business on, oh, let me start crypto, but you have no clue about crypto. You've never had an experience regarding any finances. Well, that's the worst use of your time and your talent right away, because others can do crypto better than you do. So what
mm,
you should do next, let's check the things that you or you can do well. And usually then people land on what? They land on things that others can do just as well. And now we have, usually now on social media and on websites, we have a lot of these types of businesses, which is everybody is a coach, everybody is a boss babe. I'm giving examples here. I'm not
yeah.
shitting on anyone, but everybody is the same. It sounds like everybody else because they feel like, oh, I kind of like this, and they haven't really pinpointed what we're good at. And but at the same time, because you're not uniquely made, because that's not your unique selling point, that's not your what makes you stand out, it's not really the best use of your time. Again, we see it here. It's not the best use of your time because that's not what makes you stand out. You're not utilizing the best aspects of your experience, of your knowledge, of your skill set, of your life experience. So that's not the best use of your time. So then people, once they realize this, they go usually into, they realize, okay, maybe let me do things that I do really well and I love to do, one or the other. And this is the zone of excellence. So for example, somebody used to be an accountant. They were really a really good accountant. They were always getting promoted in their previous role. And now they're like, you know what, let me start an accounting job, because they were getting paid well. They're really good at it. uh, they were employee of the month, let's say, they were winning, but they're not, they know deep inside they're dying inside. They're waking up,
Mm,
they something is missing. And now it's when we hear examples like, I was hitting the six figures, I was making half a mil a year, and I was unhappy, I was depressed, and people are like, why? And we hear, what, why? Oh my god, you're so ungrateful. You have everything. You have the good house, you have, the picket white picket fence, you have the dog, you have the house, you have the wife, you got everything, you have the bags, the luxury. You're not happy. Yeah, because you're doing what others expect you to do. And if we go back to the Johari window, this
mm,
is what is known by you, is known by others. That is what expected. You're expected to do this. You have the label of an accountant, you have the label of a housewife, you're a really good housewife. What? You're gonna be a business owner now? Yeah,
mm,
because fully, I'm not fully, what's the word I'm looking for? Fulfilled when I'm only at home. I want to do other things. Or I'm not fully fulfilled being an accountant. I want to have a family now. And it's like something is missing. So that's when you realize that, two really good questions for the zone of excellence to figure them out is, what do you do better than just about anything else? What do you do better than just about anyone else? I mean, what is that, for example?
mm,
And that you can compare, let's say, with people in your circle. I'll give an example for you. I'll give the perfect example. I don't have another like friend that I know right away on top of my hand that is like you just hold space. One of the many things you do, that's not the only thing, but that quality of you holding space trickles down in your business, and it can be translated in different skill sets. But for example, holding space, I think you're like top. Like, I don't know many people who can do that. Example, again, you have many other skills. That's one question. And another question is, what do you consistently get positive feedback on? And that could be career or life. Remember, the other one in the zones of incompetence is, what do you consistently get bad feedback on? And this is, what do you consistently get good feedback on? That could
Mm,
be words of gratitude that you get from your friends and family. That could be compliments. That could be comments on your social media. That could
mm,
be gestures and people like responding really positively to something you said or do on a consistent basis. Um,
mm.
bef- I feel like I can keep going, but I don't want this to be.
No, can we just yeah, let's just talk a little bit more about like the zone of genius, because I feel like it can be very, it could be a very like fine line almost, or like a very, maybe the thing that we almost take for granted, maybe in some ways.
Yeah, it is. It
Yeah,
is. I thought it would be worth talking about the other zones just so that we
yeah,
can, yeah, distinguish.
yeah.
And then the zone of genius, as you can see here, the fish is in total bliss, is happy. The eyes are closed, doing almost like the yoga Zen pose, because in that zone of genius, you're operating from a place of like, you are in full alignment with the talents that you have, the interests that you have, and your time. Like, you're not feeling the things that you do, you are uniquely suited to do them. And two really good questions to ask yourself, if I'm operating from my zone of genius, is, what work do you love doing that it doesn't seem like work? That's one.
Mm.
Some people will say watching Netflix. No, dig deeper. It's more than that, you know. What work do you do that you love so much that it doesn't feel like work? And the other one is, which aspects of your work now generate the highest ratio of positive results compared to time spent? So time flows.
Mm,
Like, you have the most positive results as you're spending your time. Like,
mm,
the ROI of time spent versus results is high, and the results could be measured in, it could be money for some, but others could be in terms of levels of happiness, or
mm,
in terms of people served, or
mm.
lives touched. So the measurement depends on how you measure it. So in this case, how does this speak to you, like when you hear these two questions? And I can repeat them if you want.
Yeah, can you repeat the questions again?
Yeah, the first question would be, what work you do that you love doing that it doesn't seem like work?
Mm. What worked? I mean, when I'm
And it could be
on,
activity, because, sorry to interrupt you, it could be work. Translate that into, could be activities, things, because when people think work, they think, oh, I'm going into an office and I get paid. So like let's not get caught up in just the word work. It's
yeah.
what activities, things you're doing that you love doing that they don't seem like work.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is an example right now. We're n
What is
it's
that?
just like,
If you put it into words, is it
yeah,
communicating? Is it learning? Is
yes.
it, what is it?
For me, it's communicating. For me, it's communicating for sure. Because I feel the same way when when I'm working with a client, and we're in a call, and we're like, I'm asking questions, and they're like, essentially, I'm so blessed that people feel comfortable to share their hearts with me. And so that's when I'm just like, I can just stay in a call for 12 hours, and it'll feel like it was 5 minutes.
Hmm.
So yeah, definitely the communication piece, a conversation piece. Yeah, definitely that. Definitely.
Can you be more specific? If I'm putting on my other hat now. Can
Um,
you be I'm putting on my coach hat. Can I get to have your permission as
yeah,
your friend?
yeah, for sure, definitely. Um, okay, more specific. So, more specific in the types of conversation, you mean?
In types of communication, because there's like communicating. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Communicating could be like, I am listening, I am receiving, I'm holding
Mm,
space. That could be communicating. The other one could be, I am teaching, I am speaking, I am expressing myself. That's another type of communication. So I gave examples. You don't
okay.
have to pick from those. But what type of communication lights you up and it doesn't feel like work?
Hmm. That's a very good question because both of those things that you said, I kind of feel the same way for both, but I think I've learned to appreciate what it is to listen to people actually. Like to actually listen to people because I can see a very stark difference. Like, for example, I stopped doing my business. I shut my business down for like over a year, a couple years ago now. And when I came back, I realized that we learn to have conversations, but we don't really learn how to listen to people. And I realized that I was having conversations, but I wasn't listening to people essentially. And so I was still able to, I was still feeling like I was doing good work and things like that. But when I came back, I realized like now I actively listen to what people are saying, and the output is only as good as the input, right? So like when I'm listening, I listen to the full thing, the whole story, because a lot of times I see in conversations it's like somebody will say something and then we think in our mind, oh, I know what I'm going to say, and you're just holding on to what you want to say instead of letting them finish and then giving a perspective if one is needed. And I realized I was doing that a lot before. It's like, oh, I would hang on to something and then give my response to that thing that they said that like maybe triggered me in that moment of, oh yeah, it seems like this. But now it's like I listen in order to like really have an understanding of where they're coming from, what they're actually saying, so that I can give a better output. So I feel like it's almost like, they're inputting and I'm outputting, if that makes
Mm,
sense. So I feel like that, I think normally I would say teaching because I also love teaching. And I feel like that is a gift that I have. But really, it comes from, I think, being able to listen. I don't always listen to my husband and my kids,
no,
but
I think you're being too hard on yourself. I think that, yeah, you're being too hard on yourself, which is part of like the high self-awareness as well.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so that's kind of like a way to also dig deeper. And this doesn't mean you are the best, like better than others. It does mean that you are, because the other kind of questions that we ask here, that means like we asked what kind of things can you do that are just, these are things that you can do that are just, you do them as well as other people. But the zone of genius doesn't necessarily mean that other people aren't uniquely set out to do those things as well. But that means that out of everything that you're doing, out of every skill or interest that you have, this is kind of like the one that stands out the most. And um and also in your circle a bit, but it doesn't mean you are the best. Let's say it doesn't mean you have to be like Jackson. Yeah, Michael Jackson or Michael Jordan, you know.
Yeah.
So, and another question, the other question here that I think is interesting to remember is which aspects of that work, of that activity, generate the highest ratio of positive results compared to the time you spend on it. And that's when we are able to align what we're good at, but also with like what gives life to our gut, you know.
Mm.
So, for example, for me,
Mhm.
I would say my zone of genius, it sounds also a bit self, it feels weird calling this your zone of genius because you feel like, is it? You don't know if it is your zone of genius, but I feel what gives me life, for example, the most positive results is when I help develop people, when I help ignite people. And I feel like that A lights me up. B, I think I've seen good results from that in both the person that I am helping, serving, and also in how I feel. I'm just like, I'm all in and my heart is in, my spirit is in.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah,
and I
makes
feel
sense.
like I've been feeling this way for a very long time since I was a young kid, like that. Now we call it coaching, but it has taken different formats. The beginning maybe was counsel to adults, then it became training others, then it became coaching. So for the last decade plus, it has been coaching. Now I have a title for it, I have a word for it, but before I didn't. And a lot of times we cannot figure out our zone of genius, both because we are not aware of it, but also because we don't have the language for it.
Mm. Yeah,
So
yeah. It's even making me think of what I just said too when you're saying like how basically the this is how I kind of see it too, or this is what I said to my husband. I said, I feel like I know what I'm called to do, but the vehicle in which it comes through is different. Right now it's my business. It could look different later on, you know? But it's making me think to what you said about just growing up and how it's changed, or now you have a like language for it or a word for it. Um, when I was a kid, my friends used to call me Switzerland
what? Why?
because because Switzerland was like neutral. So it's like I wouldn't take a side. Like if two of my friends were arguing, it's like I would just listen to them both because it's like, well, yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but I can also see where you're coming from, you know, the
Oh
other
yes.
person. And so they used to call me Switzerland because it's like you don't take sides, like you never take somebody's side.
That is so funny. And
And
that
so
is accurate.
and so now it's like when you're like asking me these questions and I'm thinking about it, and then what you just said now, I'm like, wait a second. Yeah, it's kind of looked a certain way this whole time, kind of, but I wasn't aware of it. I didn't see it. I couldn't see it before. But now that we're talking about it, it's like, oh, actually, it's always kind of been there in some way, this
Hmm.
listening ear.
And now is where we get into the area where we're honing into the zone of genius. The zone of genius now, you're saying, okay, I think I know, I have an idea of a quality or a certain trait or an umbrella of traits that I hold that I'm is my zone of genius. Then it's like, how do I find out, for example, where to pivot professionally or what business to build? And
Mm,
there's where we do a deeper dive, and then you combine what you're really good at, what you love doing, and what the market is willing to pay for. So
mm,
not all of the skills that what falls under your umbrella of zone of genius. For some people, the multifaceted ones, the job is a little harder because you have an umbrella, a ball that falls into your zone of genius, and other people it's just so apparent, like you're a musician or you're a pianist, all you do is play the piano every single day, like, or you sing, like it's so is your thing, we know it, or you shoot videos every single day, like we know that's your thing, you know that's your thing.
mm,
But for us, where exactly what you said, the vehicle changes, but the zone of genius more or less remains the same. It
mm,
can it maybe it changes formats. It's almost like water. You still have water, but then it becomes solid when it hits below zero, and then when it hits plus 40 it becomes steam, and then it becomes rain again. So it takes different formats, but the zone of genius remains the same. And the work to get deeper now is to really break it apart into what I mentioned. So things that I love doing, that time can fly, things I love doing, this is like my love, I feel alive, something gets ignited. The
mm,
other one is things that I'm really good at, because you might be really, really good at, but somewhere there, it like, it kind of like it's not, you're not fully alive. You're really good at, it's still your zone of genius because you're uniquely suited to do that. For example, Michael Jordan played basketball. He also was really a good golfer, but I would assume that his zone of genius is still basketball. I'm giving an example here.
Yeah.
And then the other one is what the market will pay for. And then you kind of like, if you want to build a business out of your zone of genius, you need to align those three. You're good at, you love it, market pays for it.
That's so you know what's interesting that I didn't realize when until you said it too, because you said in the zone of genius, it's not necessarily um things that other people aren't no wait not wait how am I saying this, like not like that other people aren't good at, no,
That it
yeah,
doesn't mean you're
it
the
doesn't
best
mean you're
at,
the best at it, yeah, that was
the
it,
best
yeah,
out of all other human beings, let's say,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
But that is the top quality, your top quality.
right, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that's interesting because it's like it almost feels like the zone of excellence is almost like you are better at everybody at doing
Yeah.
that, but your
Yeah.
zone of genius, you're not necessarily better, but it's what lights you up.
Yeah. That's your best quality.
Your best quality, okay.
Yeah. Because the
Yeah,
zone
that's
of
good.
excellence, it could be your zone of genius, but it's, if it is your zone of genius, then it is your zone of genius. Like,
Right.
you might also be a Michael Jordan, which it is his own, basketball was his zone of excellence. He's the best of all time, but it was also his zone of genius. But it's like you can't really, it's 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 either or. Is that accurate? Like, you cannot be in your zone of excellence and be in your zone of genius. No, you
Mm,
can. You can. Actually, so I'm going to revise what I mentioned earlier. Uh,
mm,
but ultimately, your zone of genius is
what
essentially like, you
lights
might not,
in
you
your
might not be the best essentially than other people. That's
yeah,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense though.
Hmm. Can I
That
share? Go on, go on.
no, I was gonna say, yeah, that actually makes sense because I think I was maybe like I was considering the zone of excellence your zone of genius. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
how I always kind of saw it.
Mm-hmm.
When I heard in the past when I heard like zone of genius, I kind of always thought, oh well, that's the thing that you're the best at. Like that's what you're gonna do. That's how you're gonna make your living kind of thing. But I'm seeing that that's not necessarily true because you can make your living in your zone of excellence, but live from your zone of genius that shows up in a different way, but that's still giving you life and making you feel fulfilled, but it's not necessarily maybe the thing that pays you, but to like have like you said, the ultimate would be to have like all three, like the thing that you're
Right.
good great at, the thing that you love that lights you up, and the thing that will pay you as well. In terms of business, I guess.
Yeah, in terms of business.
Yeah.
And here it's all about, the answer is in the axis. So this is like the best use of your time, the best use of your talent, and that's why the zone of genius is the best use, not just of your time, but also of your talent, because that's when we're like, we're saying, oh, I'm living, I'm reaching like the best me, my best self.
Yeah.
That's when you're operating out of your zone of genius, but like you can make money out of your zone of excellence too, which I
Mm,
think most people operate here, zone of excellence and competence. In
mm,
the zone of competence is really hard to stand out, which is
mm,
when businesses die, like within
mm,
0 to 3 years. If you cannot stand out, you die. That's it,
yeah.
because other people can do it better than you. And then your zone of excellence is that you're really good at, you are
Mm,
extremely good at it, you can make a good living. But then it's like, this is, see, the author here says this is where others want you to stay, because this is what you're known for, usually your
right.
zone of excellence. And usually the zone of of genius is that known to self but hidden from others, sometimes or
Mm,
oftentimes.
mm,
That is like, that's when you see like this business people. It's a very known, there was a very known like broadcaster, journalist on the news. She's just, we knew her as a news broadcaster, and she ended up quitting, and she went to France to learn how to bake. So that was unknown to us. And that's her zone of genius. Like, she's so happy. She quit the news.
Yeah,
And
that's
she was
amazing.
like, I'm in so much debt, but I'm so like freaking happy.
Amazing. Did you say there was one last thing you wanted to share?
Oh
One thing
yeah,
you want to share with me?
yeah. Basically, I just wanted this part is this is not a plug. It's part of a training that I offer within my program for my clients who are building a business, and it's essentially part of the workbook. So if I wanted to kind of like visually show you how you could do this exercise to get to your zone of genius. A lot of
Yeah.
people are visual, so if I may, I
Yeah.
could share a
And plug
visual of the
away,
work.
by the way. Plug away. Plug all you want. Plug all day and night.
Okay, okay.
This is
Thank
so
you.
good. This is so good. And yeah, I'm visual too. I like seeing things, you know. So
Awesome.
this is like really good.
Awesome. So essentially, step one of that process when we're trying to figure out, especially with multi-talented, multi-passionate people, or people who are in a place where they're trying to pivot, usually, they've gone through a big career change, or they're coming out of a divorce, or they're coming out of like a big milestone. Uh, they're trying to figure out like what am I meant to do when we're very lost. So we kind of start with the skills and interest audit. So it starts with just brain dump. You're very familiar with that method. The personal and professional brain dump. So just dump, literally start dumping without thinking the skills and interests that you have on a personal level and a professional level. And here there are some examples. Like personal, I offer dating advice. I love organizing bookshelves. Professional, I am a history fan. Skills and interests, because sometimes your interests are your zone of genius, but you haven't um, explored more. But it's like as soon as you start playing the piano, you play like Mozart. But like people are like, "What? You haven't practiced?" No, I've never practiced. You have a very good listening ear, musical ear. So that's why the brain dump is skills and interests. So start dumping personal and professional skills and interests. Then the technical and creative. So this is things that maybe I love and I'm really good at
Mm.
unclogging the faucet. I'm giving an example, you know. And then the other one that we don't really talk about is brain dump, the audience or communities that you're really skilled at in those groups, in those communities. That could be like when I put Greek parents, I say, I am every time I am around entrepreneurs, like I light up and they flock to me. I'm giving examples here, right? Random. Or every time I am around toddlers, I light up and I love talking to them. That wouldn't be the case for me, for example. So, brain dump
Yeah, me
the
neither.
skills and interests in terms of audiences and communities where you light up or you're really good at navigating those groups.
Oh wow. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
And
Yeah, that's
yeah,
interesting.
I feel like it's such a good process. So once you do that, you're like, okay, what do I do with all this? This is so much, like so much information. What the heck do I do? Then we do here we kind of jump and we do the idea audit. So you've done all of this, and then you kind of jump and do like different ideas that you've had. This is with in terms of if you're not looking to build a business, this could be different hobbies that you're maybe exploring. You're trying to figure out who you are. So this is like ideas, like things that I have here. This is business ideas, but this could be like ideas that I had about myself, that I have been really interested in. Here, then the second kind of column here is start listing the problems that you usually solve, that you care to solve. For
Mm.
example, I don't care to solve. I'm giving an example. I love to solve conflict. These are some areas that I love to solve. So problems that I love to solve. Um, This is more obviously with business in mind. That's why we have these three other categories, because we're trying to find not just what you're good at, what you love, but also what the market pays. And that's why we have these two categories.
Mm,
So the second category is, uh, if you don't have any of these areas, then figure out any problems that you like to solve, anything that you can add on to that problem. I'll give an
mm,
example. Let's say I love to travel, but you don't really care to offer travel services in that sense. Then find out like a bestseller problem. So in terms of traveling, I love to pack for traveling, so that is
mm,
a bestseller problem. So the problem is traveling, but the bestseller is packing,
mm,
because yeah.
mm.
And then we basically figure out, like, these are the types of problems that people always ask you about, like friends, family, the market, like, this is a needed problem. Um, and then essentially the process is, you basically take all of those things, and based on the questions that I mentioned earlier, you plug them in to the four zones. And then out of when you plug them into those four zones, you start noticing patterns.
Mm.
And then the more you have plugged in here, that's when we have a discussion. We kind of distill it down to one, either one umbrella or one skill. And once you kind of go through all of this range of brain dumping, you figure out the key theme.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
This is so good. I think
Yeah.
that, like, yeah, this is so good. I love the visual. I love how you like the step by step of what that looks like, because um it is funny when we take the time to actually write things down, especially things that we think aren't we tend to, especially when we're growing a business, we tend to overthink, right? So we'll write down things very specific to what we are doing in our business, instead of just saying, like, what am I good at, point blank, period. Like, let me just write everything down, because you can really start seeing something about yourself when you do that. And if you even take it a step further, like we mentioned in the, what is it called, the Japanese, is it Japanese?
Johari window.
Yeah, that, yeah, when you start getting that feedback and actually asking people too, like, what is it that you see that I'm good at, or just like questions like that, it like opens you up to seeing things about yourself that are hidden, that you don't see, or that maybe see but didn't realize other people saw.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just becomes really interesting. And what a conversation. Like this,
Midnight.
like
Midnight.
basically you should just download this and then just sell this as a workshop.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so good. Like, it was so good. It was so, I loved the examples. I love how everything was just like broken down. And like, I know it was just like a spontaneous thing where, like, let's just go live. Okay. Let's talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah. Eh,
It's
can
so
I
good.
ask? Can I ask you something?
Yeah. We have somebody's watching us. Okay, yeah.
What? To say that again?
No, I said we have a viewer. Hello.
Who is it? Where is it? Where are they? Where are you? Tell us where you are from.
Yeah, tell us where you're from. Who is it, and where you're from? Because I can't see the chat. I have to open up this window so I can see.
Okay.
But yeah, what were you
Okay.
gonna say? And then maybe we should, because it's been like an hour.
Yeah.
Um,
I wanted to
maybe
ask you a question if you wanted before we close up, before we close it off.
you wanna ask me a question?
Yeah.
I just want to open this chat for a
Yeah.
second. Again, maybe here. I don't see. Okay, I don't think the person answered. If you're watching, go ahead, say hi. Okay, anyway, and while we close out and I answer this question from Ioni, go for
Yeah.
it.
So the question is, what lights you up that you're currently not practicing? every single day?
Oh
Is
my goodness.
there something that lights you up that you don't practice every day?
Core blimey. Okay. Something that lights
You
me
don't
up
have
that
to
I
answer.
don't practice every day. That's a great question. I mean, I think for me it's always I had the revelation only recently that I overthink a lot, which I didn't really I never really considered myself an overthinker. I think I considered myself to be I saw it more as being maybe self-aware or contemplative maybe, but I think it's really basically just overthinking. Like it went too far past a self-awareness. So I think something that I don't practice every day that maybe I should is basically I think expressing my thoughts in some way because I hold a lot of stuff inside, and with that comes a feeling of just old wounds that I've had. We're having therapy session now, but old wounds that I have about like not feeling seen or heard. And I think that there's so many people around me who listen to me, who want to hold space for me too, that I don't take advantage of. But at the same time, I think that if I took the time to write these things out, then it doesn't, or even just speak them out, to be honest, like it, whatever power that is blocking me from, like, gets released. So I think I should be doing that more, basically, just expressing myself in one way or the next, whether it's just verbally out loud, like in prayer with God, or writing it out, or speaking to someone.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. I think that's and would you like to share yours since we're
I
close?
have reflected on that. It is expressing myself. It is communicating what's on my mind, which is why I think a lot of, which is why people get addicted to social media. One of the reasons is because they feel they can express themselves, and which is why I have now been able to just go back on social media because I feel like I have this need. I want to express myself. I want to express what's on my mind. And part of the reason why I have this challenge now, which is having no filter challenge, is because I feel everything's happening in my head. And there's so much goodness, there's so much magic inside of me that I feel, I don't know if it's my zone of genius, because I'm sure there's very many unnecessary and shitty thoughts, but some thoughts,
Mhm.
they need to be expressed in the world. So definitely communicating. That is something that I'm not practicing enough at all. And that is what I want to do more of. Whether it is by recording myself on camera, writing articles again, or having these conversations live or offline. That I don't do enough. I've been isolated since 2020. That's pretty much it.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what? I never really it's interesting actually that our things are actually pretty similar in some ways, like about expressing ourselves and not holding things in and knowing there are safe channels and spaces and ways to do that, you know? Um,
I think it's part
so
of the reason why we have a friendship this way, because like you understand the need of being heard and being held, and me too. And I think that's why like we can hold space where it's like just share type of thing, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, Thank you so much for suggesting we just jump on. And thank you. What I'm looking over here because this is where your name is. Goddess Aura. Thank
Yeah, that's
you.
so
She
nice.
said, hey, she said hi. So hi, thank you for joining.
I got a soda.
And thank you for sharing for like literally a masterclass in discovering your zone of genius. So amazing.
Thank you.
Um, we have to do this again, spontaneous or
Yeah.
not. We have to do it live again for sure.
Yeah, it felt good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.